Hey, thank you for joining me for this talk on hunting bumblebees in the Green River Lakes area of Wyoming. This area is just a little north and east of Pinedale, Wyoming. It is located in the Bridger Teton Wilderness area and just north of this area, and access is through the Bridger Teton National Forest. So let's take a look at this area and some of the bees that I found. So just so you can orient yourself, if you look at the bottom right down here, on the bottom right, you'll see Lander, Wyoming. Over to the far left, you'll see Pinedale, and in between is the Wind River Range. And so if you go north of Pinedale through Cora and follow the Green River up and around, you'll see a little red speck there, the lower and upper Green River Lakes, which is in the Bridger Wilderness. Just to the north and the west of that is the Bridger Teton National Forest, where there are campgrounds and access to this area. Let's take a little closer look. One last thing before we leave this slide. In the center here, you'll see Gannett Peak marked. That is the largest peak in the state of Wyoming at 13,810 feet. Just to point that out, it's going to be outside the area we're visiting, just to the south and east of the Green River Lakes area. So here is a zoomed in Google map with the satellite imagery showing the Green River Lakes area, and you can see just off center to the right the lower and upper Green River lakes. And as you can see here, these are fed by a number of different streams. The headwaters of the Green River to the south, to this valley that you see to the east, is the Clear Creek Valley. They drain into and feed, at least that feeds the lower lake. Porcupine Creek off to the west of the lower lake also feeds in there. And then as you see here, the river runs kind of northwest and then wraps around the hills and heads south through Cora, Pinedale, Boulder, and points south, as I mentioned. Just so you're aware, at that lower lake, you're dealing with the lake elevation is about 8,000 feet. And so the images that you're going to see are from about 8,000 to 9,000 feet. We will take a look south from the lakes towards the south where Square Top Mountain is. We'll take a look at the valley looking north, and then we'll also take a look up to the east, up Clear Creek, so you can get a look at what that appears to be. So here I'm on the shoulder of a hill on the east side of the river valley, looking up the river valley, and it kind of wraps around in the distance there. But this is the Green River heading north, and then it wraps around, heads west, and then south to Pinedale and part south. This is up at Green River Lakes, looking up the lake on an overcast day. This was Monday, July 1st. I was in here the whole first week of July and caught a lot of great flowering plants and some bumblebees and some great hiking. And so this is the lower lake, the beach area at the bottom end of the lower lake. And off in the clouds, the Square Top Mountain in the center. We'll see a better image of this in a little bit. Coming in on the left, just after the shoulder of this green hill on our left is, you don't see it very well, but that is where Clear Creek runs in. And over on the right, past that shoulder, that first green shoulder, is where the Porcupine Creek comes in and flows into the lower lake area. This is looking up the Clear Creek Valley, and that is a really fascinating, beautiful area worth seeing. Here's a little bit closer. So this is right before you cross over the shoulder into Clear Creek, and you're getting a look at Square Top Mountain up above the upper Green River Lake. So beautiful area. Again, I was in the 8,000 to 9,000 foot range, and was hunting bumblebees there. I was camped at about 8,000 feet. And so this was the first week in July. Other than the first day, it was in the 30s. We had frost most of the mornings, which kept the mosquitoes down. But the bumblebees weren't out until late morning. Usually, if I saw them, even though they do tolerate some cold, 35 degrees was a little too cold for them. But then in the afternoon, it would get up into the 60s. So in the afternoon, easily I was seeing, probably late morning and afternoon, I was seeing a lot of insects, including mosquitoes. Lots of flowers this time of year. So columbine on the left and Indian paintbrush on the right. Some of my wife's favorites, so I wanted to photograph them for her. And then some lupins, mountain lupins, and then this is that alpine sweet vetch on the right-hand side that I did see a couple of bees on my third day of hiking, but I could not key this bee out because I didn't get enough good shots of the head and the abdomen to be able to work out exactly what it was. But I do want to talk about these mountain meadows that were full of elkweed or monument plant, really interesting plant. Somehow they synchronize, so they all seem to flower at the same time. A lot of times they average about 6 or 7 years before they flower. It's been known that they can live over 35 to 40 years, but once they flower, they die. And so because they're browsed a lot, the thinking is that if they flower all at the same time, it saves some of them from being browsed, and also it attracts the bumblebees, and I can attest to that. And here you can see a close-up of the flower, which one particular bumblebee was all over, and I was able to get a lot of interesting shots of it. So we'll look at that bumblebee. And that is what I believe is Central Bumble Bee. This could be Hunt Bumblebee or a couple of others, but after taking a really good look at it and looking at the scruffiness of the hair and the coloration, and honestly not using a key because I didn't collect any specimens just through photography here, but I believe this is Bombus centralis, the Central Bumblebee. So let's talk about, assuming that's what this is, which I would bet a few dollars on it that that's what it is. Let's take a look at its behavior and range. So first of all, where do you find this? Well, according to Paul Williams, Thorpe, Richardson, and Kola, the bumblebees of North America, these bees occur in the Mountain West everywhere from Alaska and adjacent Canada down into California and southeast through the desert highlands in Arizona and New Mexico, and it will occur from sea level up to over 11,000 feet. They say 3,500 meters. And they're pretty common in this range. So that's interesting. And where do you find them? Well, you're going to find them in open prairies and also in mountain meadows. And here you can see somewhat of a mountain meadow looking out over the valley of the Green River. In terms of food plants, allium, this rabbit brush, also called rabbit, there's a couple of names for it, rabbit bush, rabbit brush, chrysium, a thistle. Then there's another set of plants, golden brush. I think it's got a couple of different names. Then the Monardella, which there are 40 species, I believe. Penstemon, which there are a couple hundred species. and the Phacelia, if I'm pronouncing that right, which there are a couple hundred species. So all these plants they seem to go to, and of course we know that um, with the flowering of monument plant, they were all over it. And here you can see the abdomen with the black set of the black tail, I guess you could say, the last couple of segments of the abdominals with several orange bands and then yellow. Now, what is the behavior of this? Well, this is an underground nester, and Williams and colleagues say that this is one that's known to patrol circuits in search of mates. But again, you're going to see, I'm up here in the mountain meadows seeing it all over these plants. It was not too hard to photograph. They didn't let me get too close, but of the 2 or 3 different bumblebees that I saw up here, this was the only one that I got good enough photographs of that I could tell what it was. So my last shot that I'll show you of what I believe is Central Bumblebee, and I want to show you a couple others that I saw that I didn't get enough photography to be able to key those out. I'm still working on that, and I still have footage to go through to confirm what they are. But here are a couple other species, and this one I should be able to work out on the left. The one in the middle, I don't have many images of this one, but I did see it a couple of times higher up. I did not see it down at 8,000 feet, but higher up. And then on my third hike, I ran into this one on the vetch, and I didn't get enough of its abdomen and its head really to be able to key it out just yet, but I'm working on it. So really interesting area. I'm sure I saw at least 2, if not 3 or 4 different species, but I'm pretty sure that was Central Bumblebee that I was looking at. It's a fantastic area. Again, high elevation, 8,000, 9,000 feet and higher. And there's lots of wildlife there, lots of birds, and beautiful area to visit. So thank you for listening. I hope you found this interesting, and take care.